Arsenal can win the Champions League. Yes, I know what you're going to say, but hear me out. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another match reaction, ladies and gentlemen. This one's going to be a lot more expansive and do a lot of analysis as well. So it's not just going to be 5 minutes. Big up to all of you guys. Please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're yet to do so. Share this video everywhere. We're here to talk about this game right here. Arsenal 2, Athletic Bilbao 0. Now, let me address first the elephant in the room. Husam, how can you say Arsenal to win the Champions League? They've got 0 Champions Leagues. Yes, PSG had 0 Champions Leagues before they won it. City had 0 Champions Leagues before they won it. Chelsea had 0 Champions Leagues before they won it. So just because a club historically has 0 doesn't mean that they'll never win it. Now, the other thing that people bring up is, Husam, Arteta plays boring football. It's so boring. I was yawning watching today's game. I agree with you. The football is boring. But guess what? Boring football works in the UEFA Champions League. Who says it doesn't work? There's a lot of counter-attacking teams that have won the Champions League before. Like many examples of boring sides, boring clubs that have ended up being Champions League winners. I actually think boring football probably suits the Champions League a lot more than it does the league, in my opinion, because the Champions League, it's a knockout competition, and we saw what Arsenal did to Real Madrid last season. We saw what Arsenal did today as another example. Always limit your opposition's chances and try to score and try to win. Now, let me just go to something quickly, like before the game, and this is just purely Opta. This is not my opinion. This has got nothing to do with my opinion. This is just Opta and what Opta has said, to be honest with you. So I'm going to just show you the... basically, this is what Opta predicts are the favorites. You'll see our club, Liverpool Football Club, of course, in there. But let me just show you guys where Arsenal are at. So, as you guys can see, this is the Opta list on 9th September. So, just the recent one. Liverpool, chances of winning 20%. Arsenal are second favorites, with a 16% chance of winning the UEFA Champions League. Now, do I think that's crazy? No, I don't think that's crazy. I think there's a possibility that this happens. And it's the same thing as well with the other tweet that was posted today regarding this information, which is Liverpool 20.4% favorites, Arsenal 16%, PSG 12.1%, City and Barcelona 8.4%, Chelsea 7%, Madrid 5.6%, Bayern 4.3%, Inter and Newcastle 3%. Now, I love the fact that our club is at the top of that list, and we'll come to Liverpool inshallah tomorrow when we're analyzing the game. But here's my thing. People will speak about boring football. I think boring football is actually something that works in the UEFA Champions League, in my opinion. I think this is something that's like, we have to just be honest about. Boring football in the Champions League works. How many finals did Simeone get in? I think Simeone, like just before City beat them, the only teams that Simeone ever lost to in a knockout stage were either Real Madrid or a team that contained Cristiano Ronaldo. And he's probably the best, if you would like, defensive coach in these scenarios in the knockout stages, and he's only lost to Real Madrid and a team with Ronaldo, Juve, basically. So Ronaldo or Madrid. So he's done really well in that competition as a defensive coach. Jose Mourinho, defensive coach. Rafael Benitez, defensive coach. So defensive coaches do well, and the tactics. Listen, we have to accept this is who Arteta is. So there is no point of me just calling out every time, just sit here and call it out and call it out and call it out and call it out. This is who Mikel Arteta is. So I have to look at the football. I have to analyze the football. I have to tell you what I truthfully think. Do I think Arsenal will win the league? Probably not. But do I believe that Arsenal can win the Champions League? Yes, they can. It's not impossible. Let me just share a little bit of the stats from the game and tell you as well my opinion on some of these players. Of course, we're going to use FOTMob. This is the app that most of you guys use. This is your starting lineups. You guys can see both starting lineups for both teams. Let me just zoom in a bit more so we can get, up close with the Arsenal lineup right here. As you guys can see, this was the starting team that Arsenal started. There you go. Raya, Timber, Mosquera, Gabriel, Calafiori, Moreno, Zubimendi, Rice, Eze, Madueke, and Gyökeres. This was their starting 11 in today's game. And look, here's the thing with this lineup. This shows that Arsenal are using their squad depth well. Mosquera, for me, has been an unbelievable addition to Arsenal Football Club. I think Mosquera has been extremely solid since he's become an Arsenal player. I mean, he came on at Anfield and He basically didn't look like he's just a young center back that didn't know what he was doing. At Anfield, he played really well, Mosquera. So I've got to point that out. As well, I think Zubimendi had a good game today. I think Zubimendi had a good game today and played really well for Arsenal. I think Madueke was a spark all game long. This is a signing that I laughed at myself. Forget other people. Myself, I laughed at that signing. And to be honest with you, he actually had a good game, in my opinion. I've got to look at the Arsenal back five, though. Raya, Calafiori, Timber, Mosquera, and Gabriel. Let's not forget that this is a back five that only conceded one goal in all competitions since the start of the season. And it was that Szoboszlai free kick. So it was a world-class, unbelievable goal. And that's the only goal that they conceded the entirety of this season so far. So we've got to respect what Arsenal are doing from a defensive perspective. Another clean sheet. Iñaki Williams had a couple of moments. Berenguer had a couple of moments. But for the most part, they handled everything Bilbao threw at them. Some might come here and say it's just Bilbao. Fair enough if you say it's just Bilbao. I understand it's not the toughest opposition. But I'm looking at the style that they did it. Now, let's look a little bit as well at the statistics of this game. This right here is everything in detail regarding today's game. So let's just scroll up a little bit. And let's look at the prototypical stats. Arsenal 1.1 expected goals, more shots on target, more big chances missed, more passes, more fouls, same amount of corners, so no one can say anything. Now, I'm interested to see this right here. As you guys can see, expected goals and XG from open play, 0.83 XG from open play. So it's not just set pieces, which had 0.27 XG. So XG from open play was 0.83. So they had higher XG from open play than Bilbao did, and they deserve to win today's game. The other thing I wanted to look at was defensively, from a defensive perspective. This right here. This is something that I noticed all game long, and it was from all the defenders, whether it be Gabriel, who was the captain today, led by example, or anyone else. Like the tackles today on the football pitch were unbelievable from all the players, to be honest with you. And this was the other thing I wanted to look at, and the percentages of duels won. 58% of all duels won, 62% of all the aerial duels won. And this right here, you have to thank Noni Madueke for this. You get me? You have to thank Noni Madueke for all the dribbles, from today's game. I think he had a very good game again, Madueke, today. Now, look, here's the thing. I get it. Arsenal have never won the Champions League. I understand. But there's plenty of clubs who haven't won the Champions League who ended up winning the Champions League after having zero. So just because a club has zero Champions League does not mean that they'll never win the Champions League. Oh my God, they got zero. That's not logic. That's not a logical way to look at football. I look at it from the perspective of Arteta's style works in the UEFA Champions League. And look, styles make fights. The Champions League is less like the Premier League and a lot more like UFC. The Champions League, the styles make fights. Grapplers do well against people who are better at striking, if you would like. That's the rule for the UFC for the most part. And for me, Arsenal are very good against the likes of a Real Madrid, against the likes of a PSG, clubs like that. Arsenal might struggle against low block teams like an Atletico, like an Inter, but we'll get there when we get there. Arsenal play Inter anyway. Let's see if things change with Victor Gyökeres. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on Arsenal, and I've broken down everything I think. Make sure you guys are liking, make sure you guys are subscribing. Love to every single one of you guys, and I'll see you whenever I see you.